This morning at 11 a.m., there was an update to the case of Orrin and Orson. There's not actually any new developments in the case, just some clarification. And Chief Walker from the California City Police Department did an interview with Perla for KGET television in Bakersfield. And what we've learned now is that there are indeed dozens of persons of interest. They're not going to name them at this point, and they don't have any named suspects, and there have been no arrests made in the case as yet. And as you know, Orrin and Orson have been missing for 2 months now as of the 21st. The chief is again saying that he doesn't believe this case is going to go cold, but then he also said that he thinks cold case is a term from television and that he's actually got 8 unsolved cases that they're still working on. And he says that to him, a cold case is one where people aren't looking anymore and that they haven't stopped looking for anyone at their department. So don't know what to think of that exactly. But there's clarification because there still seems to be a lot of confusion about how when the boys first went missing, there was the identification for Orrin that said that he had a broken leg. And the chief did confirm again that that is a very old break, that it has since healed. He confirmed the biological mother's story that she was away, the child was being babysat. Somehow he broke his femur, which is a thigh bone, and when she got home from work, he was crying. She could tell something wasn't right, and she took him to the hospital. He was taken from her at that point because of the broken bone. They say that there was no misconduct. It was ruled an accident by the Department of Child Protective Services. They took both Orrin and Orson into care, and they had a previous foster mom who became friends with their biological mother, and so Child Protective Services decided that it would be in the best interest to give them different foster parents. And then in 2019, the Wests adopted these children and gave them their new names. The chief says that he wishes he had never made that first statement about people not having seen the boys at the California City House ever, because after he made that interview, he immediately found other people in the neighborhood who did see Orrin and Orson and the other boys and verified that there were children there. And he said that he's not surprised that some people had never seen the children because of the fact that they'd only lived there for about 3 months, and it was during COVID times, and so there wasn't a whole lot of intermingling amongst people. He verified again that the 911 call did come in at 5:45 p.m., and he said that it's still part of the investigation, so he's not going to release it. The news reporter told him that she's had 911 recordings released to her before while an investigation was still ongoing, and so he just kind of said, but that's not what he's going to do. So I don't know if there's something super pertinent in that 911 call or if it's just the way this chief operates about not releasing the 911 call. And when asked again about evidence that they've taken from that house, he said they took all the electronics, which included the phones and laptops and stuff, and they took clothing, bedding, and items from the yard and items from the house, and that none of those have yielded evidence that he could go on with that. And he stated that the fact that the dogs didn't find scent of the boys leaving the house doesn't mean that they were never there or anything like that. He said that the dogs were used as a tool. If he could have tracked them, that would have been good information. But they were just tools, and they're not 100%. And then also he said that polygraphs are not admissible, and he would like to use polygraphs as a tool because that could give him an indication of whether somebody's being dishonest with him. And when asked by the reporter whether the parents had taken a polygraph, he said that he couldn't comment on that. But I'm just assuming because of the fact that he said he doesn't have any of that information, any of that to go on, I'm assuming that there was no polygraph, so he couldn't use that. But, that's just my assumption, and, I could be wrong. The reporter also smartly asked him whether there were pictures of the boys on the cell phones, because Jacqueline famously said that the reason why there were old pictures for the children was because her new photos were all on the phone. And Chief Walker did verify that there were children's pictures, including Orrin and Orson, on that phone, and that had been taken by the FBI, and he doesn't have access to that. And when asked for clarification of whether the FBI still had the phones, he said that the phones were given back to the parents, but the parents have new phones, and I'm wondering if they have new numbers as well. But they have the phones back. So when the reporter asked him how come Jacqueline hasn't released new photographs of the boys, because obviously the reason why he hasn't released new photographs of the boys is that he didn't have access to the photos anymore, that the FBI has those photos. Why they haven't released new photos of the boys, I have no clue. And he said that he has no way of knowing how Jacqueline's mind works or something like that as to the reason why she didn't release newer photos of the boys. And actually, I'm just going to peek over here at my computer and see if I can find... Okay, here we go. The question asked was, so you don't have any access to more recent photos of the boys? Is there a reason why Jacqueline hasn't released those photos to the public? I know a lot of people are looking for more recent photos of Orrin and Orson. And his answer was, I can't speak to what her thought process is, what she's choosing to do, or what not to do. So, to me, it sounds a little bit like he's also wondering why she hasn't provided any newer photos, because it would be helpful to know what they currently look like. So that's the information from Chief Walker. I'm still praying for these little guys, and I hope you are too. Thank you for watching Another Day in the Car with JuleZ.